Okay, we're gonna try this again. Last time I did it, my computer kind of did a weird thing. So, technical issues across the board, but that's okay. All right, I'm gonna give you this media campaign presentation. I'm gonna waste no time because time is of the essence. Okay, so just to kind of go over my campaign overview for the mystery program. Demographic age 18 to 45, and location is in San Francisco. That would be the headquarters of our radio station, or I guess our main studio. So I guess it makes sense we'd be targeting people mainly there and only there. Our psychographic would be music lovers, talk show enthusiasts, social media users, which makes perfect sense. All of these psychographics for the city of San Francisco, so it makes perfect sense, and that's kind of why I chose those. Obviously, our behavioral is going to be to attract new listeners while having a good mix of regular listeners. So we want that mixture and keep that kind of fresh for our regular listeners as well. And then campaign objectives, increase brand awareness is always going to be the number one on any campaign. Increase sponsorship sales, especially for a company like ours. We're going to need sponsors. Revive radio in a new fun way and gather new listeners. I think that'll be another good, I guess, objective is just we want to kind of bring more newer light, fresher light to radio to, get the ball rolling again for radio. And then insight, we just want to develop an emotional connection with our listeners, and I think the Mystery Music program will be a good way to do that. Our announcers do a great job keeping, our radio station, our I guess way of doing things conversational and kind of just chill. It's relaxed. I think that's one thing that attracts people to our radio station. We can take advantage of it in that way. Um, and then as far as the media strategy can get kind of lengthy, but to start things off just with some simple numbers, our objective here is 60 to 75% of the target market. So we don't want to target our entire target market, because our psychographic is very niche, being music lovers, commuters, for example. Oh, you know what? I am going to go back real quick, and it won't let me. But I do want to bring something up. I forgot to mention commuters. San Francisco is a big city, and you're driving back home from 5 o'clock traffic after work, and you know what? Music ain't cutting it. I'm going to listen to 95.3 KMBF. So I think that'll be a great way to do it, or at least that's another target market. Not a lot of people think of that, I feel like. And I work for a bigger city like San Francisco. Anyways, frequency, we want 5 exposures per week. Anything below that is just not enough. Anything above that is too much. So I think that's more important. And yeah, we don't want people to get too tired of us, and but also to like not remember us. And then as far as timing, early afternoon once out of the week, but that's variable to change. We could do more than once a week, twice every week. We could do less, like we could do once every month or something like that, for people to like maybe look forward to it a little more. I don't know, but that could obviously be buffed out. Our media mix would be social media, influencers, radio, because those are just the three that you'd use in any radio station. You look at KXLG in Watertown, they use social media. They kind of have their influencers with their community connection, but we could use like social media influencers for per se, bring on air hosts, things like that. And radio, our literal radio station. So of course we're going to use that mix in our media. And then as for the budgeting breakdown, 2 to 10 million per year is going to be very realistic for a radio station in California, let alone San Francisco. So that's going to be ideal for our station. Full on-air staff will get their pay and stuff. We have to pay our employees. Music licensing fees, that's going to be crazy, especially with trying to get licenses to newer music. It's going to be more expensive. And then rent. Yeah, we got to pay rent. We don't own our own place or anything like that, and we got to keep our equipment, in tip-top shape, especially in a high-cost city and stuff. And you got to make sure all of our software and our radio antenna and all that stuff's working. And that kind of goes in with potential maintenancing fees. If we have to call in a sound guy to help fix our antenna or some of our boxes and hardware and stuff. So that'll be important. And then for my creative concept recap, these are just kind of some rough drafts or finals of what we'd be kind of throwing out there on our social media or around our radio station, posters, in some of the local areas. So I just kind of went with kind of like one infograph kind of style, one that's a little bit more poppy. All I really did was just change some formatting, and I think that'll really do it. And that's pretty on brand. Outsourcing our program to new regular listeners and show the benefits of listening to our radio station. And I kind of chose some happy, bright, positive, fun colors to go with it. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And hopefully encourage people to tune into our program, whether they're stuck in traffic or doing chores around the house, just while they're doing something, tune in. As for campaign rollout time, this can get a little lengthy, but I'll try and make it a little, as brief as possible. Our first phase would be our foundation and tease phase, which would be 1 to 2 weeks. We're just kind of talking about it, have our announcers discuss it on air, and we build more teasers around our radio station on social media, just kind of like soft launch it in a way, and acquire sponsors for the mystery music program before it launches. Excuse me. Um, a little awareness push for 3 to 4 weeks. We've officially released it, the campaign. We released our first wave of our social ads, our promos, and on our radio ad pull time and whatnot, and also our social media as well, making our followers aware of that. We'll collect our early engagement data off of just the first month and kind of build off of that. So I called this prime time from 5 through 7 just because it felt appropriate. We're just kind of digging into the dirt. We're outsourcing our ads and we're just kind of throwing it out there, constantly talking about it. So we'll build on data to create more ads for the program. That'll be huge, and I think that's just what we'll be continuously doing is just building on the data we keep getting from every single program. Um, we'll begin a big campaign sponsorship outreach if our sponsors expire or if they resign. We will make sure to do that. And then a major promotional push. We're just going to keep pushing the Mystery Music program, and that'll be huge. And then peak activation. This is just the coasting phase. We're converting our high engagement to listener loyalty. People are coming back, and they know what our program is. Hopefully by that time, and continue doing what we're doing. And just kind of keep on, whether we need to check our data once again, keep on improving. I feel like that's going to be a forever ongoing process. And swap out sponsors if needed. But and that kind of I bring that up again and just identifying in the 10th week and just kind of wrap up and optimize and see what works, what doesn't, and check our engagement, our listener growth, and what's starting to work, what continues to not work. And I think that'll be just kind of like a balancing thing. So yeah, that's just kind of what I see for being our last phase. It's a whole 10-week thing. And then just for final thoughts, oh my goodness, excuse me, I'm still kind of sick. We just see how it works, and I think it's gonna work really well. I think it's a perfect addition to all the other programs we have at our radio station, and I think it'll be a great addition, especially for the San Francisco area. And I think it'll make song submissions just a little more fun, and hopefully that it gets added into the ad pool of all of our great programs and stuff, and whatnot. And that is my presentation. Thank you for listening. Also, Amanda, welcome to my house. Or maybe not welcome to my house, but this is my room and setup and stuff. So, yeah, this is it. And whatnot. Thanks for listening and happy holidays, Amanda.